Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshu Nam Hitartaya Tattva Bodha Vidiyate. So in this text, Tattva Bodha, we have covered the qualifications of the student that is mentioned in the beginning, and then they went on to inquiring about the self, and there he negated the anatma and established the atma, asserted the atma. He said it is Satchit Ananda Swarupaha. And then how this world came about, that's the next discussion. After discussing about the individual, then the discussion is about the world. Because why do we say that Vedanta, any text in Vedanta, is analyzing life, we say. Why? Because when the individual contacts the world, there is experience. And when series of such experiences flow, from the time we are born till the time we die, that's called life. It's called Anubhava Dhara, means stream of experiences. So therefore, life is all about experiences. And the individual contacting the world brings the experience. Therefore, when you analyze the world, when you analyze life, you have to analyze the individual and the world. So they first analyze the individual, and when you see something, what is apparent to your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, to know that you don't need description. Something that is, you have direct knowledge by seeing or hearing or smelling, tasting, touching. You don't need somebody else to come and tell you. But you have to penetrate through your perception and see the truth behind it. Then you need knowledge. And that can be seen only when you are calm, composed. Now, if you are disturbed, if your mind is agitated, and then if you are, you are gaining the knowledge, if somebody tells you, then also you won't understand. So you have to be calm, composed. Therefore, qualifications are very important. And then you should have done some amount of, inquiring. Then you reflect about what you inquired. Then you can go into the depth. So you need the Guru and Shastra to give you that knowledge after you are qualified. So it analyzes the individual first, and then it went on to discussing the world. There we saw how from Brahman the world has evolved. So then we said Brahman means that which is paripurna, infinite. It doesn't have any lack. Therefore, there is no possibility of any motive to create the world. If it has a motive, that means it's not limitless or infinite. It has some lack. So it's not complete, it's not paripurna. So therefore, since Brahman is paripurna, limitless, infinite, it cannot have any motive. So it cannot cause the world. But at the same time, something that is all-pervading, endless, infinite, means whatever you are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting should be pervaded by that also. Should be pervaded by that infinite. So then from that we discussed and said, what is there is only that infinite Brahman. but we are seeing it as the world. How that is possible? Then we gave various examples: rope, snake, boulder, elephant, post, ghost, etc. And then we explained. Then when we explained that, we said, in Brahman, there is this potential Shakti called Maya. And that Maya basically has veiling power and creative power, manifesting power. So we said that Maya is inherent in Brahman. It is the Shakti of Brahman, you can say so. Therefore, that Shakti is dependent on Brahman. Brahman is not dependent on Maya. Meaning Brahman controls the Maya. So Maya Sahita Brahman, we use another word called Ishvara. So that Ishvara, who is Brahman plus Maya, from that this world has evolved. So that means what? The material cause is the Maya, the intelligent cause is Brahman or Ishvara. So we say the material cause is Upadana Karanam and the intelligent cause is Nimitta Karanam. Nimitta Karanam is Ishvara, Upadana Karanam is Maya. So Maya is the Upadana Karanam, material cause. And when you observe the world, we have these three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And it is in the gross form in which the five elements are there, but not in its purest form. So then we said, from the known to the unknown when we go, then how this world should have evolved? The gross must have been in the purest form in the beginning as subtle. And that could have only come from that Shakti which is inherent, the material cause. Therefore we say Maya is Triguna-atmika. It is Brahma-ashraya Triguna-atmika. Meaning it is dependent on Brahman and not the other way around. Brahman is not dependent on Maya. In other words, you may have the Shakti to paint, but you remain without even doing any painting. Without the Shakti manifesting and you becoming a painter. You can remain without being a painter. The Shakti can be just there and manifest. But if the Shakti has to manifest, that Shakti has to be in you. So Shakti is dependent on you. You are not dependent on Shakti. So rope exists in its form as rope, whether it is misunderstood as snake or not. But the snake cannot come about if there was no rope. So we say snake is dependent on rope and rope is not dependent on snake. So in that example, rope is Satya, snake is Mithya. So therefore we say Brahman Ishvara is Satya, this whole world is Mithya. So from that Maya, these three guna should have been there in unmanifest form, that has manifested. And we see in the gross level, all mixture, so we say that is definitely have come from tamasic aspect. Then when we analyze the subtle body of the individual, organs of perception, mind, intellect, ego and memory, all these have, associated with knowledge. You can gain knowledge through this. So therefore we say it must have come from sattvic aspect of what? The five elements. Sattva of space, sattva of air, all this we studied. So organs of perception, each of them have come from one element, subtle aspect, and then the mind, intellect, ego, chit have come from the total sattva of the elements. Then Rajasic aspect, say, organs of action has come about of the elements, and then the total Rajasic aspect of the elements brought about the pranic body, the pranas, the functions, physiological functions. Then the elements in its purest form went through some division, subdivision, then mixing, intermixture happened, then the gross world came, from that the gross body has come. This much we have studied. Okay. And then we went on to start the topic, the relationship of the individual and the Lord. That's the topic we went to. So there he said, Evam Pinda Brahmanda Yoho Aikyam Sambhutam. Thus, there is identity, oneness between the microcosm and the macrocosm. This much we have studied. Now he explains how there is oneness between the microcosm and the macrocosm. Because apparently when you see, there is so much difference. So that's why you find, how is it possible that the microcosm can have oneness with the macrocosm? What kind of oneness can be there? So there he is going to explain, it depends on your identification, it depends on your vision. What are you identifying with? Based on that, so you can identify with something gross, or you can identify with something subtle, or you can go and identify with the source. Where is your identification? Based on that, you can look at it the way you want. All possibilities are there. In engineering, we have what is called as, in engineering drawing, isometric view. Right? Different views are there. So you view a house from the front and then draw the house. You view the same house from one side and you draw. You see from the other side, you draw. You see it from the rear side and draw. You see it from the top angle and draw. All pictures will be different, isn't it? But we are talking about the same house. The whole picture. So all he's trying to say is, due to our mind and its long association and has been thinking in a particular way, we are not seeing this oneness. And the moment you, through the Shastra, with purification, when you are relaxed, you can see. Then you suddenly see, my God, it's the whole, not the part. This is what he's trying to explain here. This whole concept is that. And once you see the whole, only then the samsara goes, he says. And then you become man of realization or enlightenment. Then he discusses about, in fact, before going to man of realization, he discusses about Tattvamasi, and then he discusses about man of realization. Then he talks about the karmas, how the karmas don't affect the realized soul, and finally he discusses the result of this knowledge. What can this knowledge do? The importance of it. Why we should give ourselves into this knowledge. This is how the thought flow goes in this text, Tattva Bodha. So now we are studying about the relationship of the world and the Lord. Jiva, Ishvara, Aikya, Sambandha. Jiva means the individual, microcosm. Ishvara here means the total, macrocosm. Aikya means identity, Sambandham, how they are related, how they are one. How do you establish the oneness? This is the next discussion. So let's get on to that. I will share the screen now. 1 minute. Yeah. So we studied up to this. Evam Pinda Brahmanda Yoho Aikyam Sambhutam. Thus, there is identity between the microcosm and the macrocosm. This much we have seen. Next, it proceeds. The Guru. Stula Sharira Abhimani Jivanamakam Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati Sa Eva Jivaha Prakritya Swasmat Ishwaram Binnatvena Janati Avidyopadihi San Atma Jiva Ityuchate Mayopadisan Ishwaraha Ityuchate. So what he's saying here, and he's continuing, Evam Upadibedad Jiveshwara Bheda Drishtihi Yavat Paryantam Tishtati Tavat Paryantam Janma Maranadi Rupa Samsaraha Na Nivartate Tasmat Karanat Na Jiveshwara Yoho Veda Buddhi Swikarya. The reflection of the reflection of truth, Brahman, which identifies with the gross body is called the jiva. He's saying when the pure consciousness, Brahman means pure consciousness, identifies itself with the gross body, it's called the jiva. After all the grossification which we studied, that is called jiva. This jiva, individual by nature, considers the Lord Ishvara to be essentially different from himself or herself. The self, Atma, conditioned by ignorance, avidya, is called the individual. And when conditioned by Maya, is called the Lord. Their difference is due to the conditionings. So long as the notion that the individual and the Lord are essentially different remains, till then there is no redemption from the samsara, which is in the form of repeated birth, death, and so on. Due to that reason, the notion that the individual is essentially different from the Lord should not be accepted. The whole thing is explaining. What he's saying is, we already discussed this. Ishvara is who? Maya Sahita Brahman. Brahman plus Maya. But Maya is subservient to Ishvara. Ishvara is not subservient to Maya. The veiling power of Maya, cannot do anything on Ishvara. And Ishvara uses the creative power and creates. Avarana Shakti, Vikshepa Shakti. Avarana Shakti cannot do anything with Ishvara. Using the Vikshepa Shakti, this whole world has come about. So, Maya is subservient to Ishvara, not the other way around. But once this world has come about, how does the world come? Ishvara identifying with Maya, Vikshepa Shakti. That is what he means by saying conditioned by Maya. But if you really go by that statement, we have to be careful here. When he says the self, Atma, conditioned by ignorance, avidya, is called jiva. When conditioned by Maya, it's called Ishvara. Now we have to be very careful here. Brahman, Atma cannot be conditioned. When he says conditioned by means as though conditioned. So when the father is playing with the small child, let's say the child is 4 years old and he's got a gun and he's shooting the father, the play gun, not the real one. And the father is falling down as if he's dead. Is he really dead? He's pretending to be dead. So it's like that. So though he is using the word, Ishvara is conditioned, Ishvara is not conditioned by Maya. Whereas the individual is conditioned by avidya, ignorance. Individual doesn't know all this. That's why we need Tattva Bodha. That's why we need the Guru's knowledge, blessings, our sadhana, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and all that. Because we are the one who is suffering from ignorance. We are overpowered by Maya. The Jiva is subservient to Maya. Ishvara is not subservient to Maya. So he says, so long as the notion that the Jiva is different from the Ishvara, so long as the notion that the Jiva and Ishvara are different, which is due to the difference in conditioning, remains, till then there is no redemption from samsara. Samsarati iti samsara, from changes, from the ups and downs, from the, the pairs of opposites, heat, cold, pleasure, pain, joy, sorrow, honor, dishonor, censure, praise. All these things makes us suffer, go through mental agony. You understand? So, and then not knowing that we are unconditioned, truly speaking, imagining ourselves to be conditioned, then we start thinking, thoughts run towards the world to feel that completeness. You understand? Because now I'm thinking I'm individual, not indivisible. I'm actually indivisible. I'm indivisible Brahman. But today, due to ignorance, I'm thinking myself to be this individual. I am different from the world. Then there's so many people, so many things around, changing things. Say I need protection from people, I need protection from this and that, I need protection. So I need to run after wealth. And even after getting wealth, I need to protect it. It may be taken away. All this is at the mind level. All this is called samsara. The root of this samsara is what? The thought that I am different from Ishvara. I am individual. So that's why he says, that's the root of this. So long as this notion remains. That's what beautifully he says. Yavat paryantam tishtati tavat paryantam janma maranadi rupa samsara na nivartate. What he's trying to say is, you cannot find the solution for your samsara in the world. For all you can find, you will only find temporary solution. You feel very insecure without wealth, so you run, work and earn money. Then you feel temporarily okay. But then, Arey Baba, I have now money. I need to protect it. Now, especially now, in today's context, the war is going on. Where to invest that money? You understand? Should I put it in fixed deposit? Should I put it in mutual funds? Should I put it in share market? Where should I put it? Everything is going on. Turmoil is happening. People are losing money. Inflation is going up. Money value is going down. You don't know what to do. You're caught up. So, temporarily you may find some satisfaction, but actually there is no solution for this samsara. The only way you can become free from the samsara is knowing this truth and dissolving that notion. Due to that reason, he says, the notion that the individual is essentially different from the Lord should not be accepted. Because unless and until you solve the problem of individuality, you understand, your mind is going to create problems for you. Because you are thinking yourself to be the individual, you understand, as you think, so shall you become. This is the problem. As you think, so shall you become. Therefore, he says, the Jiva and Ishvara's Aikya should be understood. For that, you need to put in effort. Straight away, if you see, you don't see the difference. You do see the difference. Sorry. Straight away, when you observe, a lot of difference. I am limited. My jnanam is alpa. What I know is very little. Whereas Ishvara, the Lord, is sarvajna, sarvavat, sarvavyapi, all-pervading. I am not all-pervading. You understand? So, there is so much difference. And I am already in this notion, then you are also in that notion, everybody is in that notion, and then each one is reinforcing this notion, and all of us keep reinforcing this notion, and this notion is now very, very deeply rooted in us. Even if somebody comes and tells you, Baba, please think, you will doubt. What is this fellow got? Why is he coming and telling me like this? You will not doubt somebody who calls you by your name, who says you are limited, who says that you are this body, mind, intellect, who says that you are this form, which perishes. who says that you have a birthday, who says that you will have a death day, you will believe them. Because you are already believing that. See, this is the thing, in life, in many situations when you analyze, we have our own conclusions and convictions. And we will go with those people who give logic and reason to establish those conclusions and convictions that we already have. Maybe we don't know how to explain it. Then we say, I agree with you. I'm convinced. You're speaking so logically. Because they are reiterating our understanding. Somebody comes and says, listen, what you are thinking is wrong. How dare you talk to me like that? You mean to say all these people are fools? So many people, all of them are fools. Only you are intelligent. You understand? Don't talk rubbish. So, this is the problem. That's what he's saying. Well, when you go by what you see, all completely different. Jiva's thing is different. Ishvara's thing is different. Jiva is conditioned by avidya. Or rather, when Ishvara manifests as the Jiva is conditioned by Maya. Avidya. He is fully ignorant. He has no idea about all these things. So that's what he's saying. The infinite truth, veiled, conditioned by avidya, is individual. The infinite truth, conditioned by Maya, is Ishvara. And when we say conditioned by Maya, again and again I'm repeating, we are using words like this, but strictly speaking, Maya cannot condition Ishvara. Not possible. You understand? There is no way Maya can condition Ishvara. Ishvara on his own, on her own, on its own, whichever way, I don't know, to use which linga. So, Ishvara identifies with the Maya Shakti, then the world is. So, in other words, this world is Nama Rupa. This is just different names and forms, but essentially it is Ishvara. Essentially, it's the same. There are no differences. You understand? So generally in Vedantic language, so many examples are given. And one example is sunlight falls on ocean also. Sunlight falls on huge river also. Sunlight falls on water in a bucket also. Okay. Now, imagine, compare this sunlight falling on a bucket of water is this individual. Bucket is the body, water is the subtle body. And light, sunlight, is pure consciousness. The sunlight conditioned by the water in the bucket thinks itself to be limited to that. The reflected light. That's what he means by saying pratibimba. Means reflection. You understand? So the pratibimba is individual. But you can either identify with the pratibimba or you can identify with the real bimbam, with the real light. When you identify with that light, your vision is different. When you identify with the bucket and water and associate the light with reference to that, then you look at yourself as very small. And your life also will be according to that. As you think, so shall you become. If you think with that understanding big, then the vision will be big, everything will be big. You are the one who are restricting yourself. You are the one through knowledge can expand yourself. So this is what Vedanta says. Nobody has bound you. You have bound yourself through ignorance. You're refusing to see it other way. So therefore, the Guru comes down to your level and slowly he'll give this knowledge and then make you see, as you also simultaneously go through the process of purification through sadhana, you will start seeing yourself. Your vision changes. And then when that vision changes, you don't identify with Pratibimba anymore. You don't have that notion anymore. You remember in the weekly classes before, I used to give this example. Somewhere in psychology book I read. When you are hypnotized to believe, after giving you a cold charcoal, and you're holding the cold charcoal in your palm, and you're hypnotized to believe the charcoal is being warmed, heated, and then the heat is increasing slowly. This is happening in your hypnosis. And what happens is, there comes a time when you cannot hold the charcoal in your hand anymore, in your palm anymore, because you're feeling that heat in the hypnotic condition. So you will drop the charcoal. Then they dehypnotize you, and when you come out of the hypnosis, you see in your palm there will be a mark due to the heat. Now, how did that happen? It's imagination. True, it is imagination, but it has its own effect. That is what is called as samsara. So you mean to say this samsara and all is false? No, not false. Samsara cannot be false unless you understand that the mind is also false. You can't say mind is real, samsara is false. Then you will be in trouble. You will be in trouble, you will make everybody in trouble, put everybody in trouble. Samsara is false only when the mind also is realized as false. So when you go to the source of the mind, when you go to the source of the ego, this is what Swami Ramana Maharshi taught us. Keep Nan yar, who am I, who am I, who am I? To see the Jiva Ishvara Aikya Sambandha, we can see it from two angles. Analyzing the individual, analyzing the world. Then we see, he's going to explain that. Superficially, the differences are there, but deeply when we analyze, there are no differences. And it is essential for us to see it. Till we see, we can talk as much as we want, but we'll all go through samsara. The mind will torture us because we don't see the mind as pratibimba. They're seeing it as real. And that is due to ignorance. Totally conditioned. And that's why he says, so long as the notion that the Jiva and Ishvara are different, which is due to the difference in conditionings, essentially, till then, there is no redemption from samsara. What you will do, you will keep on thinking about the world, and you will be creating more and more impressions, and those impressions, vasanas, will make you take birth again and again and again. So we go through birth after birth after birth, keep dying, keep taking birth, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. That's what he says. So therefore, due to that reason, this notion that the Jiva is different from the Ishvara should not be accepted. How can it be negated? Through Guru Kripa, Tapobalam, Shastra Balam, and Shravana Manana Nididhyasana Balam. Please understand. Sometimes we take certain decisions in the day-to-day living. You see, we could have taken the decision a few years ago, but we didn't. Now we took the decision. and we are comfortable. Let's say you took the decision of selling the car, not wanting to have the car, ready to go by walk and public bus or metro, whatever. You could have taken this decision 2 years ago itself. But if you had taken the decision then, you would have probably not been able to sustain it. Why? The inner strength was not there. Somebody would have come and discussed, or you yourself have confusions. You say, maybe I made a mistake. Then you will again buy that. So, what made you take the decision and you're very comfortable now? The inner strength. This is what we need to understand. So without understanding these things, people give up the world, give up this and that, and go into big trouble. And then because of them, people think wrongly about Vedanta. As if Vedanta is asking you, when you grow, it automatically falls because of the balam. See, when the sapling, the roots of the sapling has not gone deeper, it is still weak. So you need the support of the stick, a lot of sticks. But once the root has gone much deeper, it has become strong. No need for the sticks anymore. That's why he says, keep on contemplating about this Jiva and Ishvara. Don't go by the existing notion. Don't go by what everybody thinks, including you. Strictly do Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, listening, reflecting, and constantly being in that reflection. Thus you will start seeing, your vision will change. You will stop identifying with the gross. You will start identifying with the subtle and the subtlest. Then you will see that there is actually no difference. And when you see that there is no actually difference, there is no any difference actually, then you become free from samsara. This is the thing. Strictly speaking, this is the prayojanam. And this is a very big prayojanam. From that day, your whole life changes. From that day, the whole life changes. Why? Because when you've been identifying yourself as the individual, you are thinking you are born in this world. The moment you identify with the Ishvara, you understand that the world has born from me, has evolved from me, has come from me. And from that you go to another understanding. What? Actually, no world came. But that's much later. It's not now. You understand? The whole thing dissolves. So this vision has tremendous farak in your life. Tremendous difference it brings in your life. Thereafter you'll be playing. See, when the light imagines itself to be that reflected light in the limited water in the bucket, it won't be able to play about. It won't be able to sport there. It will be stressed and strained, constrained. There is limitation. But when the same light begins to see, what stupidity is it? I've identified myself with this bucket and this limited portion of water. What stupidity it is. And instantly becomes stress-free. Starts playing, sporting. You understand? Life becomes a sport thereafter. It's no more, stress and strain. That is not there anymore. It's completely different. So how is that possible? From where did it come? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So from where did that come? You are shifting identification. Initially, when you shift the identification, you will not be comfortable. So as you increase the strength through tapas, tapobalam, you understand? You need that. Sadhana balam. Sadhana gives you strength. And then you study the scripture. Shastra balam. Shravana, manana, nididhyasana balam. And you have the right attitude. With that attitude, Guru Kripa will be there. With all this, you get more strength. With that strength, you'll be able to see it. Now you own it up. In the beginning, you won't own it up. That's why they say, don't cast pearls before swine. Jesus Christ said that. Don't cast pearls before swine. There's no point. They won't know. They don't have any value. And not only that, in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, don't even talk to them about all these things and confuse them. They are ignorant and they are happy. Let them be. They are ignorant and they are happy. Let them be. What you should do then? In the third chapter, he says, a perfect man, a person who's seen this, who's realized the truth, who's seen Jiva and Ishvara as one. What should he do? What should she do? In the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna says, he should not lecture to the ignorant. He should or she should live the knowledge. Live the knowledge means what? Stress-free, unaffected, in both joy and sorrow, honor, dishonor, censure, praise, heat, cold, in everything, going about doing your work, sportive spirit, as a sportsman, playing. This, when people see, they get inspired. Oh, same situation, same thing. The person is relaxed, whereas I am so tensed. What is this? See, there's a video somebody shared with me, small clip, 5-6 minutes video, just last week, somebody shared with me. Apparently, it came in one of the TV shows. I'm forgetting the TV show name. India something, I don't know. He is a person from birth has no hands. How this fellow, he comes and demonstrates there, spends his whole day from morning till night, brushing, bathing, changing his clothes, writing, everything, just using his toes. When you see that, oh my God, man, he doesn't have both the hands from childhood and he's doing everything and no complaint. I am sitting with everything and I'm complaining. So problem is where? Not in the external, problem is inside. The way I think, the way I'm conditioned, that I need to question. Instead of that, oh, this is less in me, that is less in me, so I'm going on adding more and feeling comfortable. Really? No. Why? Because they're all temporary, borrowed, it'll go away. So inside there is still that fear, but outside you're showing as if you have everything, you're this thing, that thing. It is all fake. That's why we all live with so much of stress and strain. That's what he's saying. Yavat paryantam tishtati. This conditioning. As long as this conditioning notion remains, tavat paryantam samsara na nivartade. Means it will not go. As long as you have not realized the oneness, there is no end for this samsara. So it's in your interest, if you are interested to solve this. If you are just interested to put some ointment and then temporarily take care of it, it's different. But if you are really interested in solving it, you go to the end of it. You say, let me put an end to this. So that's what he's saying. Without knowing this, without attending to this, what are we doing? We are gaining the scholastic knowledge. Well, that is important for living. For sustenance, I need some food. For that, I need to work. For that, I need some knowledge about how to work and gain that money and then get the food, eat. So survival के लिए वो सब चाहिए. Vedanta is not saying no. But without this knowledge, this essential knowledge, seeing, knowledge not borrowed knowledge, what we are studying in the class. With this, along with that, if you do tapas and all that, as I said, tapobalam, jnana balam, guru kripa, and all that put together, you will have the strength to see the oneness. And when you see that oneness, complete difference, farak, totally different. Swami Ramtirtha gives a very interesting story. He says a fellow met with an accident while he was going in his Rolls Royce. The car was completely damaged, and the insurance company said, now it's total, now we'll give you reimbursement. The car cannot be repaired, nothing, gone. And the reimbursement is not going to be full amount, maybe 75%, 80%, I don't know. So this fellow said, okay. And that evening he threw a party. Just telling everybody, come. To his friends, he called and said, I'm throwing a party. They all came. Nobody bothered as to why he's throwing the party. Everybody is enjoying the party. One fellow was a little curious. He said, why is this fellow throwing party? Suddenly, what is the occasion? He asked. He said, see, this is what happened. My Rolls Royce got completely smashed. Totally damaged. I'm getting 80% reimbursed. So I'm throwing the party. What? Your Rolls Royce got fully damaged and you are going to get only 80% back, 20% you lost. It's a damn new car. Recently you bought it. And this loss you're celebrating? He said, no. Think about it. I was sitting in the car. Not a single scratch on me. Isn't this an occasion for me to celebrate? Why is it possible that he's celebrating it with his friends, throwing a party? Because he refused to identify with the external. Because he always identified with the internal. This is the idea. This idea we need to get it in our head. This is not for discussion, trying to convince somebody else. No. We need to see it ourselves. We need to see it ourselves. So therefore, we need to do all these things that we are discussing. Tapas, as much as possible. Of course, when we do tapas, we'll slip. Again, put ourselves back. We'll do again slip. Put ourselves back. You understand? But without the combination of tapas, jnanam, guru kripa, not possible. You won't be able to see this. This is the trick, This is the problem. If you want to see it, you need all this. That's why we say, you please see Ishvara as Maya Pati, the Lord of Maya. Whereas you subservient to Maya. You understand? That's the basic difference. Ishvara is Maya Pati, whereas you are conditioned by Maya, called Maya Dasa. So you are Maya Dasa, Ishvara is Maya Pati, the Lord of Maya. So now as Maya Dasa, how much ever effort you put in, you won't be able to fight with Maya. Maya is more powerful than you. Maya controls you. So if you want to fight with Maya, what do you have to do? You have to identify with Ishvara. You understand? I gave the example in the class. Garuda finishes off the snake like anything easily. So what the snake does? It goes around the neck of Lord Shiva and then it's asking Garuda, hey buddy, how are you? When the snake is around the neck of Lord Shiva, it can ask Garuda. Otherwise, snake will be finished by Garuda. Similarly, we have to associate ourselves with the Shastra, which talks about this. See, we are all like the individuals traveling in the boat, the ship, in the big ocean of samsara. You understand? And in the boat, there is captain intellect and there is this mariner's compass, which always points towards the north. So the captain, using the mariner's compass, he, steers the ship towards the shore, harbor of peace, from the shore of disturbance to the shore of peace. We have to use the buddhi, guide ourselves through the Shastra, which always points towards the Atma within, the self. Talks about that. The substratum. Then we will be able to tide over the waves of likes and dislikes, this samsara, and not get disturbed anymore and attain the peace, the harbor of peace, the self within. And only it's possible. So therefore, if we want to conquer Maya, we have to identify with Brahman, Atman, Ishvara, which is what Shastra always does. That's why Sri Krishna says, surrender to me, surrender to me. Me means not the personality. We think it's a personality of Sri Krishna. He's not talking about the personality of Sri Krishna. He's talking about that deeper substratum, not the external form. You understand? So that's why he says, Mameva e prapadyante. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mameva e prapadyante. Maya metam tarantite. Beautiful shloka is there in chapter 7. See, chapter 7 say, in the Bhagavad Gita, the discussion shifts to world, Ishvara, the microcosm. From 1 to 6, the discussion is on microcosm. Jiva Swarupa, Jiva Prayatnam. The nature of the Jiva and the effort the Jiva has to put in, and it emphasizes on Karma Yoga. From chapter 1 to 6 in Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 7 to 12, the discussion is Ishvara Swarupa. Ishvara Anugraha. That is also important. Knowing the Ishvara Swarupa, and you can only know the Ishvara Swarupa through Ishvara Anugraha. We can't know through our effort. Through some punya, we deserve the Shastra through the Guru, or some ways it comes to us. So it's through Ishvara Anugraha. And we begin to understand the Ishvara Swarupa. Chapter 12, especially chapter 7 and 9. Very interesting discussions you'll see there. So I quoted from that only. Prapatti means surrender. Surrender is not blind surrendering. With your intellect, think and surrender to that. Focus there. Identify with that. When you identify with that, you understand that you are not Jiva, you are Ishvara. When you have identified with that and you constantly thought about it, you become Ishvara, then Maya is subservient to you. World, samsara, everything becomes a play, tamasha. You handle it easily. Those things will still be there, but you will be playing. That's all he's trying to say here. So, yavat paryantam tishtati. What? This notion. As long as this notion, Jiva and Ishvara are different, this samsara will continue. If you want the problems to be solved, go to the root of it and solve it. Don't just try to solve it externally. Externally you need, for example, if I'm going to sit and reflect on this, then I need to have some amount of control over my mind, keep my needs very minimum, and have some resources to take care of that minimum requirements, so that my mind is not bothered. Then I can sit and do the reflection. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it. So that's why he says, do all that, then do this, find out the oneness, Jiva Ishvara Aikya Sambandham. Once you establish yourself in that, then you will see no more samsara for you. Because you've gone and exposed the very source of the mind. When you go to the source, then you say, where is the mind? When there is no mind, where are the thoughts that is disturbing you? So then you realize, my God, by me having this notion, like the charcoal in your hand, I've been going through this imagination. So the whole thing is a figment of imagination. But for that, as I told you, again and again I'm emphasizing on this. Tapobalam, Shastrabalam, Guru Anugraha Kripa. Ishvara Anugraha Kripa. With all that which comes from right attitude. Then slowly, you will first of all, at least this much we should be convinced from all these shlokas. What? That I cannot solve the problem externally. So unnecessarily, I'm not going to waste my time in doing that. But I can solve it by going inside. But for me to go inside and do, I don't want anything to disturb me. So basic essentials, I will work and keep it so that I can do my reflection sadhana. This, at least this clarity we should get. I cannot solve it externally. I can only solve it internally. This conviction should come. That itself is a very big step. The moment we get that, our life changes. We'll be different from what we were before. Not running around, constantly chasing, putting priority for that. Our priority changes and our life changes. We'll continue next week. Let's conclude now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.